Carla Atherton, director of the Healthy Family Formula and host and producer of the Children's Health Summit and empowerment coach over at carlaathertoninspired.com. And I'm here with Billy Thompson, author of Charting Success. Hi, Billy. To talk about motivation, success, inspiration, purpose, and of course his new book. Like I said, he's the author of Charting Success. And I've got some questions I am so excited to ask Billy and have him answer for you, because when I read his book, I was so inspired. And I don't say those things lightly. Like, I don't toot people's horns just because I, feel like I should. Like, if I believe in somebody, I'm all over the place talking about them. And so this is what I want to do with Billy, because he has got the heart and the soul, and he inspires me so much. And his generosity is just like huge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read his bio, and then let's get talking to Billy and hear more from him. So Billy Thompson is the CEO and originator of Lumagent. As a high-energy, hands-on, dedicated leader, Billy has built connections throughout the U.S., Canada, which is where I am, and Europe. His organization continues to grow with a focus in client-vendor relationships. So Billy is a consultant, coach, and mentor, so we kind of have that in common because we're both coaches, and so you might see a little bit of high energy happening around here. And he recently, like I said, released his book, a hybrid autobiography business book titled Charting Success. This release is Billy's approach to reach audiences where he can transform thoughts into clarity and dreams into reality. Love that. Like, let's manifest, right, Billy? As he puts it, to help people find their version of success. I want to talk about that too, for sure, that topic. So Billy, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I'm excited.
I know, me too. And it took a little bit for us to get together, but we won't go through that. We'll just move on, carry on. So Billy, okay, so first off, I mean, I guess the first question a lot of people will ask, like an author, is the motivation behind your work. And so, you know what, let's just start with that. That's kind of a broad question. You can start with your story and kind of what got you started on this path to what you do. And maybe we'll start with that, and then we'll talk about why you wrote the book.
Yeah, no, I mean, the path is, I don't know, in some ways it kind of feels like I was always leading toward doing something and developing something like this, but I really never had the concept that I would ever write a book. That just kind of wasn't something I felt that I would ever do. It's such a unique and challenging process, but just as my career has kind of unfolded, and that's why, as I mentioned, I kind of call the book a hybrid, because it's not quite an autobiography. It's not quite just a business book. It's really this unique version of the way I teach, coach, mentor, and develop into psychology. So I use a lot of kind of my own personal experiences and struggles from my unique childhood, and how I was able to take that and fuel that into building, multiple multi-million-dollar companies, and just kind of showing that process for a handful of reasons, whether it be motivation, guidance, ideas, concepts on how someone can do the same, and kind of that roadmap that I took so that I could help others kind of find their path if they're venturing out to do something similar, or kind of guiding their own path toward a different version of success is kind of where I get at. So to answer your question, how did that kind of segue into a book? After really developing my career out, I kind of hit another plateau where I was like, where do I go now? Right. And I'm still very young. And for the things that I've accomplished, it was like, what's that next step? And I've always really enjoyed helping people. I typically have 2 or 3 students that I'm mentoring every year. I take on different businesses, different professionals, career development, all those different things. And oddly enough, I was sitting down and telling my wife, hey, I'm excited about our new company we've developed, and here's where we're at. And she's like, well, you feel successful. Do you feel successful? And, I kind of stopped and I said, yeah, but I really wish I could do more. And my wife's like, okay, well, then go do that. And she's like, why don't you write a book and reach a larger audience and start getting out, public speaking and engaging others, so your voice can carry and help, thousands, millions, whatever this book takes me to, I'm hoping. But yeah, that's kind of how I stumbled into writing a book.
Yeah. Actually, this wasn't a question I was going to ask you, but why did your wife ask you that? Like, were you kind of coasting? Were you not that happy at the time? Or were you kind of bursting at the seams, like, gotta do something else? Like, what was that? Why did she ask you that?
Well, it's interesting as you kind of dive into the book, you'll see I developed some really big successes in the world standards, and started to develop, fame and fortune, and develop this really large company. And ultimately, after building $100 million company, I decided to walk away and focus my life on my family and time for myself, and work with individuals versus, on that different larger scale. So the conversation really came up with, you were in one place of success, and now you're over here in a different place of success. And so she was curious, hey, how are your head wrapping around this premise? You go from, multiple sites and thousands of employees, to a much smaller crew, much smaller revenue stream. And what did that look like? And I felt far more successful, because that was what my success was versus what the world standard was. But she could also see in me, it was like, okay, I'm ready for that next step, right? Now that I've achieved this, where can I take that now so that I can help others, really find that realization that it took me, I felt took me so long to reach. But I want to help people shortcut that route, because what I know today, if I had that 20 years ago, I could have saved myself a lot of grief, I'll tell you that much.
Well, yes, and maybe that's someone else's process is to follow your lead, or to get your coaching, right? But your process was to actually experience all of that, so that you got to this point where you could actually overflow with it to other people, right? Like, so had you not gone through all that, like, that's kind of like the part of your story, right? Had you not gone through all those harrowing events, like, life, like on the, like, you had like things like in the hospital and you could have died from XYZ, or you had all these like adverse childhood events, or lots of instability in your life and in your home, and like that fighter spirit, and then realizing, I don't know if I really want to keep fighting like this. It's not very sustainable, So going through all that, you wouldn't be who you are, and being able to give what you give. Isn't that funny? So we all say that.
It's so unique and challenging when you have so much adversity, but without that adversity, you really don't have some of that success. And so I'm, am I thankful I went through that? No, I didn't want to go through those things, but at the other end, yeah, I kind of am, because it really helped develop a lot of concepts and core principles that really built me to who I am today. And my goal with this book is to share in those, so somebody doesn't have to go through as much adversity to discover those outcomes, so that they can learn from them without having to put themselves through that tragic situation.
Yeah. And it's not that you take away their experience, because they're like, it's not like you're like, I got this magic wand and nothing's ever going to happen to you that's no fun and painful. But I'm going to be there with you. I'm going to show you that you can, because I can. And I love this phrase. I totally stole it from a podcast. But being a living invitation, right? Living invitation. So it's like you're inviting people to be their own, like you said, when I read your bio, you said that you try to help people. Okay, what was that? Find their own version of success.
Yes.
Let's talk about success for a minute, because you talk about like building $100 million. Was it $100 million? I don't even know what that kind of money would look like. A lot of money company. And I sort of started out, I'm like in the other way. Like, I always went with the, like, digging in with this money, like, I don't know, it's like an afterthought, but that's not good. Like, so you don't want one or the other. You want, like, it's like you find the sweet spot, because the way we define success, right, can be money. But you don't necessarily want to go to the poorhouse, but you want to teach people how to still have a robust income, do what you want to do in your life, but at the same time, what's that missing ingredient that you didn't have when you had that lots of money?
So I guess starting kind of early on, I grew up with nothing. I've been on my own since I was 16, and through, I don't want to spoil too much of the story, but I do get into that, but I left with nothing. And when you grow up, with tragedy, poverty-stricken environment, stuff like that, you're really taught what success is from a world standard, which is fame and fortune. That's what you're taught. So
that's what's gonna get you out of here.
That's what's gonna make you happy, right? You're gonna be happy if you pursue fame and fortune. And so growing up
Yeah.
in the poverty mentality, you know, I knew I wanted to break that mold. And I knew I wanted to kind of develop a better life for myself, my family, my children, and really change my generational cycle. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
what I set out to do. And as I reached each one of those milestones at really young ages and started to achieve, you know, that high revenue streams, lots of money, starting to get fame, starting to get accolades and all those things, you know, I found for me, I wasn't happy. You know, I wasn't successful. And you know, I dive into this into the book of specific moments where I should be reflecting and saying, oh, I've made it, right? This is it. I'm so happy. I'm so blessed and thankful. And I was very blessed and still am. But what
Mm-hmm.
I learned on that journey is every person has a different layer of what success may be. Somebody may have walked
Mm-hmm.
my exact shoes and built a couple of multi-million-dollar companies, and they are successful and they're happy in that. And that's fine. I'm not going to ever say that that's not success for them. For me, it wasn't what I wanted, because as I was on the road and I was home maybe a few days a month, I was, you know, missing all my daughter's volleyball games and practices, my other daughter's choir concerts, had no time for my wife, no time for my friends and family, no time for myself. And it was just work. Even though I set out to do these things for my family, I was
Mm-hmm.
really taking away a lot from them. And I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize that. And I didn't know what that would do. And so on my journey, I really found that every person has a different version of success. And there's a balance that, as you said, you can't lean all one direction. You can't lean all one direction because it's not sustainable. You will fall off and you will have
Yeah.
tragedy that ensues from those decisions. So my goal with this book and with mentoring and coaching and developing and helping people is sitting down and really helping them define what their version of success is. I'm not here to tell you, Carla, or anyone in your audience, here's what success is, follow my plan, tomorrow you'll be rich. That's not how this works. Because
Yeah.
to you, you know, your version of what rich may be more time at home with the family versus how much money, or it may be needing more money, or what is that kind of balance. And then I developed a process that I call cost versus value that helps you use basically a true math equation that I describe in the book and teach you how to apply to your life, where you can really go, all right, I want this, you know, $100 million company. And then I show what the cost of that value is going to be. And then that helps you make a better decision. So for me, $100 million company, yeah, fantastic, right? Great value. But my cost, I was losing myself, my health, my family. And that cost was far outweighing the value. And that made it an easy decision to step away. And so now as I'm developing the next chapters of my life, I use that cost and value analysis with everything in my daily life. And so that's how I help people really channel and find what their version of success is. And when you build that plan, you can achieve it.
I love that because because so you've got like left and right brain going at the same time. You've got this motivation, passion, creativity, purpose, all that stuff, you know, that all that juicy stuff. And then you've got the analytical side. It's like, well, okay, how do we do this? What are the steps? What's the cost? You know, the cost and the value ratio. And I think for me, like for the reason, so we've been doing some of this work together, Billy and I. And so I need someone like you because I do that, but at the same time, my business is so like it's very heart centered, and I don't mean like, oh, I'm such a martyr and I give up, give. Like that's not sustainable either in a business model, and it's not realistic either. Like I obviously get something out of this because I enjoy what I do and I find it purposeful and it fills me up and makes me feel just like I'm doing what I need to do in the world, which is like coaching, like you do, Billy, like helping people to help themselves, you know, and feel better, have less pain, have more joy, have more freedom and empowerment in their life, you know. So, but when I get caught up in that, I found that a lot of the years that I was doing this, and I'm not saying I neglected my family in any way because they were actually, my children were homeschooled and like they were unschooled. We'd spent like 6 hours on the riverbank, you know, like just doing like pond dipping and at the library and books and like they were in my bed reading with me. Like it's not like they were neglected, but I did have like sometimes my focus was elsewhere when it didn't need to be because I was too focused on like somebody else's family, right? And then I was like not focusing on mine, what was right in front of me at times. So I had to really like find that balance. And I love that. I actually, the words that came to mind when you said you do this like analysis with math, I thought the words math geek. I was like, oh, I need the math geek. I need the person with the pie chart and someone to say, look, Carla, this is your life. This is this amount you did this amount, and then I'm like, oh, this amount you actually spent on your business, but it gave you this amount of value, and so to take that your method, it has been, and it's going to continue to be very beneficial for me because a lot of us need that. Some people need someone like me who's going to be like, I don't know, like an empowerment butt whooper, like someone say like, okay, you don't feel well, eat better. Or, like you're feeling this way about your life. Like, what is that your purpose? Or how about we do a writing workshop together and find that creativity and that passion and drive to create something new. And, all those things that make up who I am and what I want to offer. But I need somebody else to keep saying, business wise, right? Is because my business and my life like really collide. So I need someone like you to pull that out and say, okay, this part's your business. How are you going to manage that and make it part of your, but it's like, because I think, Billy, what you're saying and what you've actually done yourself is your life and business are not separate, but you still have to show how much time and energy are allotted to each of those
the world
things.
really wants to, the old expression. Yeah, they always say it's not personal, it's business, right? And that is such an untrue statement. Whether you run your own business like you and I, or whether you work for somebody, it's irrelevant because you work every single day to provide for your personal life. And you're not a robot. You can't just shut off the things you're facing in your personal life to work, and you can't shut off your work to bring that back into your personal life. And so when I set out to write a book, I studied, as many different business books as I could and tried to help really understand what point I was trying to get across. And this is one of the ones I hit hard in there too, is, I don't shy away from the business discussions in my family, and my wife and my girls, they know when I'm working, and they know that balance that I have. And sometimes it can interrupt, our family time. And it's that same cost versus value balance and how I apply that. And that's what helps drive success, not just financial, but emotional success and the connection that I have, because I involve my family. So they know if I'm struggling with something and we work together with it. And so, kind of correlates with a lot of what you do in helping families talk and discuss and connect. Those are key aspects. But yes, it is, business is personal, and that there's no way to separate those two. They're always going to be intertwined. And so that's really the goal of developing the cost versus value model. There's another model in there I call C, like SEA, like the C, where I really break down 3 simple steps toward any decision that can help somebody plan out what their success is and then map out that future to reach that success. So I agree. Business is personal. They blend. There's no way to separate the two.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's also that element of like, when it's business, okay, so yeah, business is personal, especially if you're doing something like you're an entrepreneur or doing something that's very heart-centered, which I think more of us are moving toward, not heart-centered, but something from your heart, like from something that you want, like it's part of your purpose, right? Like something you think that matters, like you find that your work matters. You can't separate it from your life. Why would you? Work isn't something external from your life. It's something you spend 8 hours a day doing, or however many hours a day. And if you're studying something, let's say you're becoming, I don't know, like a chiropractor, or let's say you're studying philosophy, you're always going to think about it outside of your reading hours or your, their class time or whatever. Or it's like, and your life is your learning, so it bleeds into your work. Like it's one and the same. And we're always trying to take them apart. So I love how you put that stuff together as well, and that's why I think
I work with a lot of professionals who, in that same vein, they feel like, well, this is what I have to do because I'm so successful as a CEO. I have to be away from my family. This is the life I have to lead. And almost 100% of the time, if I speak with that CEO and their family, their family's always like, oh no, we'd be okay if we had less and we had more of you. And even when I made some of these decisions and I went back to my family and I'm like, hey, we have, this level of fame and fortune. And they would go, well, we'd rather have you home more. Right. And now, now I'm at every single practice. I don't miss concerts. I'm involved in every event. And that trade-off was there. And so it's been fascinating on this charting success, ride so far, is working with people and hearing them go, well, I don't want to be a CEO, or I don't want to do this job. I want to do this. And then just getting them to stop and kind of reflect, it sets this completely different course for them where they go, oh, wait, I can pursue that. And now I understand that, sure, I might not have this, but what I'm gaining in value for trading off that is so much more valuable. And when you start to pursue your own success, you're, way emotionally, relaxed and centered and focused and ready to pursue. And even, in some cases I've seen work harder than you were before, but it's different. It applies different to you when you care, like you said, when you care about what you do and you love what you do. Now it's not as much work. Now that personal business blends and you find passion in it. So you can dedicate more time without it really draining you. And so it's just a kind of trade-off there. But yeah, it's fascinating when you help somebody find their path. It's just completely different experience.
Yeah, it's like it's self-propelled rather than it being like, oh, I gotta do this and I'm pulling this thing up a hill. It's like you're propelled. You're like, wee, like this is like, because I love it. So to me, if I was to define success, and I'm going to ask you what your definition is.
Yeah.
But I think that success is really finding out what matters to you, what you want to do, and be like glad to do what you do every day. I'm not loving that I can't, I had a hard time uploading this stupid video to my website this morning. Okay. So I'm not loving that. And I don't really want to do that, but I also don't like cost versus value. I don't want to spend, like $100 getting someone to do something I could figure out how to do. And then I realize I'm learning something, but it's not my first thing I wanted to be doing today. But those kinds of things are whatever. They come with the package. But what I'm talking about is like overall, like this is what I want to do. And when you get that video up and that like website saying what you want it to say, and it's inspired someone in some way, and if you've touched someone, then that is the real. And I like, again, we need a better word for work, or redefine it. I'm all about the shifting. Shifting this whole old antiquated, work 9 to 5, just get through the day, make the money to pay the bills, survive, and then retire, and then you do what you want.
Yeah.
I am like, what do you mean? Well, and so you know what the question is? Why? Why would you do that? I keep asking, why would you do that? So what's your definition of success, Billy?
Yeah, so obviously, and I probably overused the word success throughout this book, and that's why we named it Charting Success, because success is such.
What do you actually mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a relative term, and I think there's different layers of what success is. I see successes every single day, and sometimes, like you said, not all work is fun, right? There's challenging aspects to that, and when you achieve what you set out to, there's success that lies in there. So my overall success, I would say, is kind of reaching my goals. And that's where the book, I really detail out understanding what success is before the work gets put in, because then it's basically like a math equation, right? 1 + 1 = 2. I built this plan that I feel is success, right? I've reviewed it with my family. I've sat down, I've understood this is what our success is as a family unit. This is what my success is for me. Here's my plan. Here's how I'm going to get there. And then when I achieve those milestones to reach that point, I feel successful. So right now, when I walked away from that to develop, my current, company with Lumigent, I really wanted to set out to help people and to really develop tools like Charting Success and other tools that I use in individual one-on-one trainings and public speaking seminars and stuff to help people find their versions of success. And then as that's being built, not allowing that to completely consume my personal life. And so, I choose the clients I work with. I don't work beyond 40 hours a week. Typically, I'm averaging about 20. I ensure that my schedule is blended. So on my schedule, I know when my daughter's has volleyball, I know when she has ROTC, and I know when these events are happening, and I don't miss those. They're just as important as a business meeting. So they're scheduled together. So, and like you mentioned earlier, right? My family is well taken care of, bills are paid, and we're able to do the things we want to do. So all those are layers of success, but they're multiple plans that help drive that. And so as I reach what success is, my success is defined by my plan, right? And so that's why I say everybody has a different version of success. And then you have the daily successes, just running into people that have picked up my book and hearing them say, I had one person that they've been in business their entire lives, and they said, "Oh, I've always wanted to be a comedian, and your book inspired me to do that." And I was like surprised, because really, that kind of derailed. But what they learned was they didn't have to follow the formula that they felt like, I have to do business and I have to make money and this is how it is. When they sat down with their family, they were like, this is what I want to do. And the family was like, go do that. Right. And so you have little successes every day that I put in the work for this book, which was very grueling. Writing a book is insanely challenging. And that was a little success. So there's so many different forms. And that's where I really like to leave success on every person to define, because mine won't be yours, Carla. It won't be someone, that watches this. Everyone has a different layer of success. My goal is to hopefully show them how to plan, map that out, and use a very strategic evaluation tool to go, does this success fit with my life and what I'm trying to reach, and what that balance looks like. So.
Yeah. So the words that come to mind, and then and as we wrap up, because I know you've got to go and stuff, but so the words that come to mind about your process would be, so gaining clarity, right? So defining success. So you're gaining clarity on your goals, on, like your time versus what it costs you to put into your business, and then what you get out of it. So the cost value. So you're clear, you're helping people to become clear. And also, there's an element of your book that we missed talking about. And we did talk a bit about purpose in a way, but one thing we didn't really talk about is that motivation piece, because you are highly inspired and motivated. And so how do you actually coach people into that? Or does that come naturally when people finally get clear on what they want?
Yeah. Yes and no. Motivation is quite a unique thing, and some people need more, some people need less to kind of find that drive. One of my favorite expressions is it's a modern Greek world. It's called meraki, and what it means is to put yourself, put your soul, put your creativity in everything that you do. So as I teach and help people develop that, I help them understand what meraki is. And you're not going to apply meraki if you're unhappy with your life, you're unhappy with your situation, you're not wanting these things. And even though I was successful and I could push myself to the furthest limits because I wanted, to support my family and my life, I really was able to put meraki into that work like I'm capable of doing today. So I do help people kind of find what that path is. But to answer your question, no, I wasn't always this way. There's been many ups and downs of my life, but very early on, I was able to set a plan similar that I've defined out on a much easier to understand, concept than when I was younger. But there were certain things I knew I wanted different in my life. I didn't want the same struggles to befall my children that fell on me. And that was my motivation to push. So what I help people realize through coaching, mentoring, reading the book, whatever path they choose, what tool is going to best fit them, is help them understand, what is the thing that drives and motivates you? What are the things you want to find for your success? And then to almost contradict myself, once you know those things, you really can push harder. You can work, crazy bouts of hours, even though I don't recommend that, but you can do things you never knew you were really capable of once you know what that path looks like. And that's really kind of a core premise of the book as well, is I didn't know what my end game was. And I just had one thought was, I need to be successful. And I drove myself too far because I didn't know what that goal was. So my book is to say, hey, you're willing to work, you want a different life, you know, maybe you want to retire very early, or you don't want to work full time, or whatever those goals are, you can achieve them. But if you build a plan and you understand what that plan entails, what the cost, what the value is going to incur, and that'll change as things evolve, right? But now you know where you're heading, because I not only reached my success, I went far past it, and it started to hurt me more than give me value. And I didn't know what that looked like. And I just kept chasing it, right? This endless chase to the stars, right? They say to the moon, right? And okay, well, I got to the moon and I'm like, what now? I'm not happy. This is what I want. And I realized, wait, I went too far. I don't want to the moon, right? I like to stick a little closer to earth. I'm a little more comfortable down here. So that's really how I help people kind of find that motivation and find that success, and how to pursue that is, you know, kind of all wrapped up into the book.
Okay, sweet. All right, so what I'm hearing, hermetic stress, right? That whole concept of like a little bit of push actually makes you stronger.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be pushed over the edge or have this chronic state of like overwork. So that's and then also these steps. I like how you're talking about steps toward it. It's like I feel like that's where the motivation comes, because you see like, oh, I did this, yay. Okay, now I did this, yay, and it keeps you going. And then again, it's self-propelled. And then it seems like at first, and I think a lot of us are like this, we're in survival mode. So like we got to provide for our families. We don't want our kids to feel the same way we did when we were young. We don't want to reproduce the same traumas. We don't want to have another addicted family life or a broken whatever. We want to. So sometimes that can be out of fear, right? Just because we're trying to look for survival. So then what I'm seeing you transition into is from that fear-based, like, which isn't like where you're scared under a rock, but you're literally like, I'm going, we're getting out of this, which is necessary sometimes, but moving into this more like, I just wrote a piece the other day, transmuting fear. So fear into curiosity, into passion, into like, this is the sweet spot. This is what you help people, like coach people into, is this sweet spot, right?
With fear, I mean, one of the best examples, and you and I both love psychology, so you'll get this, but with fear, and you're spot on with it, especially as a child, you walk into a pitch black room and you have instantaneous fear, right? Some may be rational, like I'm going to, stub my toe on a table I can't see. Some may be irrational. There's a giant creature in the corner is going to eat me, right? So you have these things that is fear, and you hit it spot on. What I've seen in business and people that are pursuing the wrong form of success is they're fearful of doing it wrong, or to your point, not taking care of themselves or their families, but they actually are running blindly into a pitch black room because they feel like this is the only way. And so that's what the planning process does. When I can help somebody really stop, evaluate, and accomplish what their goals are, and building that plan out, it kind of subsides that fear. I turn on the light for them. And that's why, my company, my logo is a light bulb. And so,
I was going to say that.
You'll see my giant light bulb. So I help turn that light on for people to understand that, hey, look around this room, don't be scared of it. And that's what we all do, is we're pursuing somebody else's success. We're too scared to stop and reflect. And once that plan is built, that's where that fear resides, right? It just literally subsides, and it dissipates, and it's gone. And now you can go, wait, I feel better. And now you're opening communication to your family. Hey, these are the steps I want to take and why. And it helps you walk away from what you feel is the right move for your family. And with the fear gone, success lies. You can go chase any level of success. And for some, I've met people that love working long hours, and that's a part of their success, and they're all into their work, and that's great. For others like me, I don't want to spend my whole day working. It's a glorious summer day. I want to go out and enjoy it with my girls. So we have to find what our level of success is, and you're spot on. Fear removal is a big component of that.
And turning on the light. Like, I love that. I love it. Okay, so we're going to end on that. Do you want to tell us a couple words about your book? And I think everybody would love to hear about it and pick it up. Trust me, I think I sat down and read it in like a day after you sent me the copy of it, and loved it. I loved it. So motivational, inspirational, gives us some really good tips. And I just wanted more. So Billy, tell us a little bit about your book and where to find it, just to wrap up.
Yeah, it's can be tracked almost anywhere. Most everyone likes to track it down on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can also go to, chartingsuccessbook.com. You can go to my website, lumigent.com as well. But really, you can just grab it on Amazon. It's a nice, simple process. You can get the audiobook, which crazily enough, I studied and learned how to record my own audiobook. So if you want to hear me speak it, which it gets emotional at times, so you'll hear my voice a couple of times get caught up. Then there's the ebook, the hardbound and softbound copy. So multiple different ways to track it down. But in essence, the way I best describe the book, as I said, it's a hybrid, right? And it kind of goes through my autobiography and then translates that into business. At bare minimum, you're going to be entertained. There's some unique stories. I was put in unique situations throughout my childhood that really developed me to have the capabilities that I have now. And I not only use it for entertainment, but then I give keynotes at the end of each of these sections so somebody can learn how to apply that to their own life. And then that's how that really starts to transform into that business side of the book and understanding how we build plans, how we chart our version of success, how we block out what the world is telling you is success so that you can really hear your own voice and build that plan for yourself. And so that's kind of just a quick overall, but yeah, I think you'll be entertained no matter what. And hopefully, there's some value for anyone, whether you're a CEO, running a, multi-million-dollar business, or you're an entrepreneur starting, or you're a high school kid getting ready to venture out into the world. I really built this book in a very easy to read, easy to understand process. So on all levels, we could really gain something from that. So I really appreciate you having me on today, and really looking forward to hearing, any of your viewers, if they have any words of, recommendations, thoughts, or feedback, or want to connect with me. You know me, Carla, I'm always willing to jump on and have a conversation with anyone. So.
For sure. Well, I'll put all the links and such into the show notes, Billy, so everybody knows where to find you. And the website Lumigent, Lumegent, correct? .com?
Yep.
Lumigent. Yeah, okay, yeah. So, but I'll put all the correct links in the show notes so that everybody will be able to find your book and your work, because you do consulting as well. It's not just a book. This is the whole package. So lots of stuff Billy's got to offer, and I highly recommend you check it out. So thank you so much for being here. It's always a pleasure having a conversation with you. I really actually wish that we'd recorded all the other conversations we've had so we could share those too, but we got a little tip of the iceberg in here today. So have an awesome day, Billy, and everybody else watching.
Thank you. Bye, guys.